Randy.
Hey guys, much of it centers on what would have to be torn down in order for that apartment building to go up. On top of that, there are many people here in West Village who feel like this development would make a mess of parking. It may not look like much, but this small house in West Village is big on history.
And it's one of the original houses in West Village, if not the original house.
Trina Fennell says the house at 1532 Van Dyke and the one next door stand to be torn down to make way for an apartment building called the Code 2 of West Village. Woodbourne Partners plans to build it. They have this house under contract and own the other, as well as the vacant lots between them. Trina and some other West Village residents are pushing hard against the project, saying it would do more harm than good.
Because of its size, it's going to put a lot of stress on our infrastructure and parking, and those are all concerns.
I've been not a big fan of all the development that's happened in the neighborhood. It's raised rent, it's made things less accessible, less affordable overall.
Woodbourne built another apartment building in Woodbridge. The new one would be a 53-unit project with retail space and 20% of its units slated for affordable housing.
Detroit, we need more housing. We need more affordable housing. We need rentals.
Mac Farr is the executive director of the Village's CDC, a nonprofit committing to accelerating economic development in several neighborhoods on the east side, including West Village. He says there's been a lot of misinformation about the Woodbourne project, like how at 4 stories it would be too tall.
There are 11 other structures within 1,000 feet of this development that are anywhere from 3 to 11 stories tall.
And how it would make parking in West Village worse.
Other opponents have said this plan is going to decimate parking, and the developer is actually going to repave the alley in this new development, which for residents on that block will allow them to access their garages, in some cases for the first time in decades, which actually will allow them permanent off-street parking.
The Historic District Commission approved the houses for demolition, and despite being more than a century old, the land bank says neither of them have a historic designation from the city or state. A lot of tension over this issue, this proposed apartment building, which would be constructed right where I'm standing. The next step is for this to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals for a meeting next Tuesday. We will have information on that at our website, fox2detroit.com. Roop, Taryn.
Well, Randy, question here. Those historic homes, if you will, does anyone live in those houses right now? And if nothing is done, or if they're not torn down, will they just sit there vacant?
Well, one of the houses is one directly behind me. That one is empty. There is one where a couple of tenants are living in the other home, but the developer has promised to put them in another apartment once they get the green light to tear this down to move forward with their proposed apartment building. So one of them is empty. There are some people living in the other house, but there's already an agreement with the owner to get them into another residence.